Hello and welcome to Michael's Minty Music for today. Today we review the soundtrack for the Game Boy version of Dr. Mario, released in 1990 simultaneously with the NES version of the game and composed by Hirokazu Tanaka. This album is available through the Nintendo Music app. This is the track listing, and these are the tracks I added to my playlist, 4 out of 8, so half of them here. This album is pretty good, although it's only 8 tracks. Almost all the songs here are actually like full, pretty much songs, not just a couple of seconds of a sound effect, unlike some of the other soundtracks. There's only really one song here that is less than a minute long, which is pretty nice. This means that despite being still less than 15 minutes, the album does feel more full. More similar to an EP or a small regular release than a video game soundtrack. They've cut out a lot of the smaller tracks, but the other songs here are all mostly in the NES version, although I do think the Game Boy has a certain kind of crunchiness to the sound, which is generally more appealing than the NES. The ending songs are decent, but still they're kind of missing something to put them over the edge. At level 20, low and high clear, and ending. They're just a little bit too simple to be good on their own. In contrast, songs like Fever and Chill and the selection screen are just really great. So, this soundtrack is probably the first Nintendo soundtrack that really sounds like it comes together well as a whole. And the flow is pretty decent, although I wish there was more. The length kind of hinders anything super amazing. Overall, a pretty good album. Only way to improve it, add more. My favorite song here is probably Game Over versus Game Over. I really liked this one on the NES, although I did choose Chill as my favorite over there. The Game Boy version of Versus Games Over just feels a lot more charming and nice than the NES version, so I decided to upgrade it to my favorite here, although Chill is also really good. I rank this album second in terms of overall Mario soundtrack so far, just under Super Mario 3 and above the other 3. The other 2 Super Marios and the other Dr. Mario. There's a definite improvement here that comes with cutting out some of the extraneous tracks from the NES version. The Game Boy sound is a lot less grating than the NES in my opinion. It's really close between the two versions, and Super Mario Bros. Kind of gets stuck in the middle where it's more iconic than the NES Dr. Mario, but quality-wise, I think the Game Boy version kind of takes it. Super Mario 3 is definitely better, though, mostly because it's got a full suite of like 30 minutes of music, although the quality is kind of close to equivalent or better on most of the songs. In terms of Game Boy rankings, I rank this one second. I don't think it's quite better than the Tetris soundtrack for the Game Boy. It's not entirely fair, though. Tetris is relying on classical and traditional music, which is and has been iconic for, a couple hundred years, while Dr. Mario is all original compositions. Still, Dr. Mario does manage to give Tetris a good run for its money, which is pretty impressive, so that's pretty nice. Additionally, since we've already seen that Dr. Mario for the Game Boy is beating out Dr. Mario for the NES, it takes my top spot for Nintendo music from 1990, beating out just that other version so far. However, despite taking that spot, it doesn't take the overall for the year that stays with INXS's X, which is definitely better and actually a full album, which kind of means that it pretty much beats out every video game soundtrack that came out around this time. So, thank you for watching. Next up will be our first SNES soundtrack, Super Mario World, which was a launch title for the system in Japan in late 1990. It will be the first full album as well. Its total length exceeds 1 hour, so stay tuned for that. And as always, stay minty.